I know a lot of you people out there don't understand, but there's a need for the world to know about this, because the church is hiding and the government's hiding. There is a lot of people that died in those places.
Even in the sunlight, the Alberni Valley was draped in fog that first morning I arrived there in the spring of 1992. Jesus once said that when we welcome the stranger, we're actually welcoming him. But how could I have known that by opening my door to him and to so many others, I'd be closing the door to all that I knew? Nothing was clear to me at first. I felt like I was on the brink of something, like standing on a dock waiting. What was clear was that I was heading for a job interview at St. Andrew's United Church in Port Alberni on Canada's west coast, where I hoped to become the minister. When I walked through the doors of that church, I knew there was a deeper purpose that had brought me there. And sure enough, I got the job.
You know, there was like 20 people in the pews on a Sunday, and they were all white. They were like retired loggers and millwrights, and about a third of the population was Native, and there were no Indians in any of the white churches. There were no Indians working in the stores anywhere. You know, it was just a totally apartheid, and it still is. It's very much an apartheid kind of community. And that's actually one of the things that got me interested. Just a little anecdote. When I went up at the end of the first service, I went up to the chair of my board and I said, you know, Fred, it's kind of odd there aren't any Indians around. You know, like where are they all? And he got really defensive, and he said, well, they keep to themselves, we keep to ourselves, and everybody likes it that way. And so when I went out to I got called out to the local Seychelles Reserve to conduct a wedding a few weeks later. I asked a man who I was marrying, Danny Gus his name was. He was a retired native fisherman, and he had gone to the Alberni school. And I asked him kind of innocently why there were no native people in church, and he finally said to me, they killed my best friend in the residential school. He's buried in the hill out back. And the church people all know it. They don't want us in their church. So it's kind of like right away, bang, it was in my face. This reality, these two worlds living side by side, not just native and white, but kind of an official world, the official history, and then the unofficial buried history.
But Danny Gus wasn't the only Indian who told me of murders in my church's residential school.
And you can tell in somebody's eyes when they're suffering, and it's incredibly painful for them to tell the stories. I'm not making this stuff up.
At age 5, I was kidnapped by terrorists in a gunboat. The RCMP had this gunboat. It was a RCMP boat with a gun mounted on it to gather children from villages.
We were segregated right from the day one. I remember in September we were all on the beach, and we were all given numbers.
When I first got to school in Cranbrook, we were all given a number. My number was 54, and my underwear, my socks, my uniform, my towels, everything that I had a number. It was 54 on there. And all the girls had their own numbers. And if you were caught with somebody else's number, you got whipped for that.
We weren't allowed to have books, and we weren't allowed to read. If you were caught reading any kind of a book or magazine, you were punished. There was severe punishment that way.
The kids who told on us got preferential treatment, whereas the children who sang their songs and spoke their language were punished constantly for any little thing, for even for laughing.
It was always hard for us to tell one another we love you, because we were taught to love was wrong. They told us to love was wrong, that was the devil's work. But yet, these priests and nuns could hug and kiss. And we couldn't even hug our own brothers. We couldn't even hold them and tell them we loved them. It took me a lot of years before I was able to tell my boys I loved them.
3 years it took me to realize it, though, of torture and pain, being strapped at a young. I lost my childhood when I first got there and never knew what it was like to have parents. Still hurts. Sorry about that. But I never knew my mother. Still don't today.
Took each of us in there one by one. And you had us bend over and Vaseline with him. He did that to each of us 3 times, I remember that. To satisfy himself. To enjoy himself on little kids.
Something that's huge, you can't just give an apology and a bit of money. It's an insult to people who have been sterilized and seen their friends murdered to think that that's going to solve anything. But what will begin to turn the tables on this is that the perpetrators are brought to justice and are able to say, yes, we did these crimes, yes, we did try to wipe you out. I often know, working with Native people who've been through these death camps, called residential schools, for them, they never talk about money, they never talk about compensation. A lot of the Native politicians will talk about that. But the people on the ground, they keep saying over and over, I just want to face the people who did this to me. I want to tell them what I think about them, and I want them to admit what they did to me in front of the world.
Yeah. I think if they did that, I would forgive them if they would just admit what they did to us is genocide.